bumped into a beehive that I wasn't supposed to bump into and aggravated them to the point that they stung me a half a dozen times. I'm really not in a very good mood. My leg is swollen, my arms are swollen, but I'm here. I'm going to, I am going to really try and hand this off to Michael to actually run it because my sense of humor is strained right now. So I'm laughing, but I'm in incredible pain.
Can you
But
do the
anyway,
opening?
bring the
Can you
meeting
do
to
the
order because
opening and
Michael
stuff,
does not
John?
like reading.
John, can you do the opening and get us started? I don't know. I don't have that opening with me.
Yeah, I'll take care of all that. I'll take care of all those reading things.
Okay.
I'd like to call the meeting to order. I'm John Catino, Chair of the Board of Appeals. Permit me to confirm that all members anticipating the agenda are present and can hear me. Okay, who do we have today? Okay, Mr. Riley,
Here.
Mr. Burton,
Here.
Masterson,
Here.
Mr. Cohen,
Here.
and do we have anybody else? One, two, three, four, five. And okay, nobody else from the board is here. Okay, okay, and we have Adina, Mr. Barlow,
Here.
and is John? Yes, John. Thank you so much.
I'm here.
And John's here too. Okay. This this open meeting of the Board of Appeals is conducted remotely. Please note that this meeting is being recorded. Accordingly, please be aware that others may be able to see you and take care not to screen share your computer. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. All supporting materials have been provided to members of this body and are available on the town's website via the web meeting calendar, unless otherwise noted. Each vote taken at this meeting will be conducted by a roll call vote. Let's go to the first item on the agenda. The Hopkins Board of Appeals will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, August 13, 2025 at 7 p.m. to hear all persons interested in the uniform application for a special permit petition for variance filed by Marcelo Trolio, 22 Bellevue Heights, Ashland, Mass. The applicant seeks relief from the zoning bylaws to convert an existing single-family home in the downtown business district at 3 Claflin Street, Hopkins, Massachusetts. Assesses map U16 139-0 into a 4-unit multifamily dwelling. The hearing will be held remotely using the Zoom meeting service. For additional information, please email zba@hopkinsma.gov, call the Department of Land Use Planning and Permitting at 508-497-9755, or check the online meeting calendar and agenda for the meeting at hopkinsma.gov. This legal notice is also posted in Massachusetts Newspapers Publishers Association MNPA website at masspublicnotices.org. John Catino, Chair and Clerk, regarding 26002. All right, we're already at the first one, the last meeting. Now we're already on number 2. Boy, this town is moving along, moving along. Okay, Michael, would you please take over?
Okay. So the meeting is open. Does the applicant wish to say anything?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Good evening. My name is Craig Hartwell. I'm joined here tonight by Mr. Marcello Trolio, the owner of 3 Claflin Street. And we are seeking 2 special permits to extend the residential use of the dwelling there from a single family to a multifamily use on a pre-existing non-conforming lot. Mr. Chair, if you would like, if I could share my screen, I could pull the plans up for you. It might be
That'd
easy.
be great.
I'm going to send you requests. Okay. Can everyone see that okay?
Yep.
Excellent. To give you some background on the property, excuse me, 3 Claflin Street is located just off Walcott Street, 1 block from Main Street in the downtown business district. There is currently a single-family historical dwelling on the property that, according to town records, has been there since approximately 1900. The pre-existing and non-conforming lot area is 10,390 square feet, which is below the currently required 15,000 square feet for a residential structure in the downtown business district. The pre-existing structure is also non-conforming dimensionally, as it is only 6.4 feet from the westerly side property line that abuts 1 Claflin Street. The current front yard setback is only 10.2 feet, but does comply with section 210-118, as it is greater than the average of the distances of the principal buildings on each of the adjoining sides. The current driveway is approximately 3 cars wide and made of gravel, which we intend to replace with 3 garage spaces and 7 paved outdoor parking spaces. As you can see, there's also a porch on the eastern side of the existing structure that the Historical Commission has previously authorized us to remove. In addition to raising the porch on the eastern side of the structure, we are proposing to extend off the existing structure to the north and the east to allow for 3 additional residential units for a total of 4 residential units. The proposed addition will be at least 25 feet from the front property line, 10.9 feet from the easterly property line abutting 5 Claflin Street, and 25.7 feet from the rear property line, all of which is in conformity with the current dimensional requirements. The existing non-conforming condition of the westerly side yard setback will not be increased or extended by the proposed changes. There are 3 garage parking spaces and 7, as I mentioned, 7 surface parking spaces proposed with this project. In accordance with section 210-20.4, we are seeking a special permit from the planning board for the 7 parking spaces located between the building and the street. We've met with them last week and have a site walk scheduled for this Saturday at 9 a.m. The proposed parking between the street and the building, just to give you some background, is designed to accommodate the residents and their guests, while the landscaping along the right side should help provide a better buffer for the neighbor on that side. As I mentioned, we are seeking 2 special permits from this board in accordance with sections 210-128 because it's a non-conforming, pre-existing non-conforming, and 210-20.3A2 because we're proposing for a residential multifamily in the downtown business district. We feel that the proposed use is not substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood than the current use, as there's sufficient parking for the additional units that we're proposing. The addition has been designed to match the historical end house style that the existing house already has and similar houses on Claflin Street represent. And the impacts from the additional impervious surface, we believe, are sufficiently mitigated by the proposed drainage plan to divert that additional stormwater to the rear of the property. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. Looking forward to getting your feedback and working with you guys on this project.
All right. Anybody on the board have any questions?
So I have a question. So just according to the table of dimensional relief, where these additional structures are not going to increase any nonconformities with the setbacks and the other lot coverage, all the other criteria. Is that what you're
Yes, sir.
indicating that this plan shows?
Yes, sir.
And the non-conforming part is an existing single-family house that is grandfathered?
Correct, sir. So any residential structure will require a special permit in the downtown business district. It's pre-existing non-conforming because it's already been a residential structure. We're looking to expand on it.
And are you saying that by putting 4 additional residential units on this lot, it conforms with zoning, but you have to get a special permit?
Correct, sir.
But there's nothing in the zoning that prohibits you, assuming you got a special permit, there's nothing that prohibits you from having basically 5 units on this parcel?
just to clarify, it's only 4 total units. We're only adding 3 to the side. So I can show you.
Great. Okay.
Here's, if you can still see, we've got the 1 unit on the left, and then the 3 additional units are broken up in the middle there to the right.
All right. That's my question.
Anybody else have any questions? Hearing none, I'll open it up to the public. If so, we'll allow for 2 minutes. Well, the way we want to do it is you'll say your name, and your address, and then you're allowed to have 2 minutes to bring your point or questions out. Is anybody there from the public who has a question? I can't. I see, because my screen is a little bit blocked. I can only see, I see one. I see Sarah. Is there?
Got mine.
I see Bernie. Okay, I see Bernie. Okay, so
Michael,
I'll
if I
say-
may,
Yep.
why don't we stop the screen share right now so we can see the people and then just put it up if
okay,
we need it.
yep. If you could knock the screen share off,
There it is. Yep. Sorry, I hit the wrong button.
that's okay. All right, so I see Sarah and Bernie. Why don't we start off with Sarah?
Sure, thank you. I actually don't mind the screen share because I think it actually speaks to the volume of that house that we're talking about. And let me take a step back. I'm Sarah Brophy. I'm at 9 Claflin Street, so I'm a couple doors down from this proposal. I'd really like to talk about the order of the numbers that's in this proposal. If you were part of last week's conversation, this is going to be a very similar message. We're talking about adding in 4 units into a very small unit, very small property, adding in 10 cars in totality. So we are looking at changing the facade of our entire street by adding in this massive house that is not less detrimental than, I would say it actually is more detrimental to the neighborhood than it currently exists. So we're talking 10 cars, we're talking 8 trash bins, we're talking a complete density of that space and turning it almost all into hardscape between asphalt and concrete in terms of building that foundation for that house. I think we're talking that this is a very narrow street on a good day. I've seen cars up and down my street today just turning around in my driveway, turning around on my front lawn because there's not enough radius to turn. And again, you're talking about adding 10 more cars to this street. Curious, where are the guests going to park for this? There's a proposal saying that there's enough space, but you're really talking about 1 car and one car for each house plus a garage space. Where are guests going to park? They're going to park in front of my house, in front of my neighbor's house. Where are they going to turn around? We already have narrow lanes in terms of this space. Also, that there's a letter within last meeting's conversation between the fire department saying that there's not enough clearance. Happy that the cars are off the street. That's great. However, we don't have the capacity to take in all of this. I also question about snow removal and garbage removal. There's no place. Where are the bins going to go? Where's the snow going to go? You've now made the entire frontage of that unit to be hardscape. So is the snow going to go in the street? Is the snow going to go in either neighbor's yard on either side or across the street? Like technical things here and just the math of these things, the order of numbers here doesn't really math for me. And again, where we talk about the variance as being not more detrimental than existing, I would couch to you guys that this actually is very detrimental and sets a very bad precedent for this neighborhood. Again, the pure volume of house that we're talking about here is just extraordinary in comparison to the other houses. You've got single family houses that have a lawn in front. You've got a driveway on the side. We're talking about dropping 7 cars that we then now have to look at every single day, which is not what happens on this street on a day-to-day basis. We have elderly folks on this street. We have, we go from 93 to 5 months on either side of my house. So there's a lot of other considerations that need to be factored into this other than the fact that I can drop in as big of a house as I possibly can on this small property.
Okay. All right. Do you want to address any of the questions that she brought forth, or do you want me to hold off until?
You can let everyone go.
Okay, all right, all right. So there was a Bernie. Bernie was
Yep.
I had next. Bernie.
You can hear me?
Yep.
Great. Sarah did a great job of hitting almost every point.
Can you
So I
introduce
won't-
yourself and your address,
Sorry.
please?
Absolutely. Bernie Mitchell, 5 Claflin. I am on a butter. That's Claflin Street. Sarah has hit all the highlights. I'll just try and drill down on a couple of things so I don't become repetitive. Firstly, the email from John Poirier of the fire department says they're concerned about how narrow the road is. And they have a picture out there of the chief's wagon. It's 9 feet and they need 9.8 for emergency vehicles. I would just make this other point with that. You think about snow, we lose easily 1.5 feet either side due to banks. And we have telephone poles that keep the snow plows from really maneuvering off the road. So I'd like to highlight that. If I go back to permeable surfaces across the street in the springtime, it's water, water, water coming off Main Street. It comes down Claflin Street, flows into our yards. We're now going to put on 7 hard surface parking spots, plus the roof material is going to force the water off. So none of that's going to be absorbed into the earth, and it's going to end up in the backyard. And we have some pretty close neighbors right back there that this will definitely impact, especially with the concern of the water levels we have.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I see Alyssa Hopkins and Lori. I can't. It stops on the thing. So Alyssa,
Yeah.
Gloria.
Yep, it's Alyssa Hopkins, 1 Claflin Street. I'm also in a butter. I'm joined by my recent graduate of Hopkinton High School, Lorelei Devlin, who's very interested in this public hearing. I do want to say my neighbors have, again, as Bernie mentioned, hit upon all of the topics that I would raise. I think one of the questions I have for the board is based on my uneducated review of the zoning bylaws. It would appear that this parcel of land is inadequate in size to accommodate a multifamily house. So that is mildly confusing to me. So I'm not truly clear on how that fits in this whole conversation. But this road is truly almost a de facto. It is a dead end, practically a one-way street where cars can't comfortably pass each other. Drainage is only at the very end of Claflin, where on Walcott Street. So as Bernie mentioned, the water that then flows from the parking lots behind Bill's and Town Hall just flows onto our street and floods. I did not, in the review of the materials, didn't see an adequate plan for addressing the increase in impervious surfaces and just sending it out the back of this parcel of land into the properties of the houses behind it did not seem to adequately address the real-time experience that we have on this road in terms of flooding seasonally, whether it's in the springtime or whether it's the melting of snow. And then, of course, just the safety issues in terms of the actual increase in terms of the number of residents and cars, specifically vehicles that would be permitted to travel up and down our street. I appreciate your attention to our comment today. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else from the public? Sarah, do you have another comment, or could you put your hand down?
I do have another comment, actually, and
Okay.
then I'll pass it over to Pam. I'm curious if there's going to be a requirement for an environmental analysis or a traffic impact analysis for this. I would also like to address the fact that the size and scale of this house and what that's going to do to the light and space around everything, the people behind, the people to the left and the right. any kind of natural light that they may have coming into their house will now also be blocked, just again as a point of consideration. But I think mainly the environmental analysis of changing the majority of that property into hard service is something that should be addressed, along with the impact of the street, and then obviously the traffic impact of having 10 more cars.
Okay.
So thank you.
All right. Yeah, perfect. And there was somebody else? You said there was, I can't see them on my screen. Is there anyone else?
Yeah, Pam had raised her hand as well.
Hi, Pam Mitchell. Can you hear me?
Hi, Pam. Welcome.
Hi, so Pam Mitchell, 5 Claflin Street. I thank you so much for letting us have this time to talk about the situation. Ever since I found out about the possibility, I've sort of been trying to drive around local towns. I've been trying to find a similar style building. I really don't. I appreciate the fact that they're trying to make it fit in with the type of the same kind of buildings that we have down here in Walcott and A, B, and C streets. But the fact that it's going to be so large and be so close to 2 single dwelling family homes, the fact that this whole neighborhood really only has, I think there are two families. I know there's a potential. I know it's downtown type zoning, but for the most part, A, B, and C, Claflin, Walcott are mostly single family homes. And so I'm concerned about it being detrimental to the neighborhood, because there's just going to be a whole lot of building. And I saw similar structures like in Upton, I saw one in Southborough and Framingham, but they're on main roads, and they had more setback too. So, I think I will leave it at that. I thank you for listening, but I'm very concerned about it. And oh no, I have one more thing to say. We have new neighbors that recently bought into the street, and also a home just sold on C Street. For the last several years, our housing has been going up. The prices have been going up, and we've been doing really well to keep prices up and keep a nice place to live, because it is sort of a unique neighborhood to Hopkinton. It is, somewhat more affordable than many of the neighborhoods in Hopkinton. And that's also a concern of mine, especially whereas I've been in my house for 30 years and I was hoping to stay about another 10 or so. And I really don't want to see my values go down. So
Okay.
thank you very much.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Pam. Do I see James and Alexa?
Hi, James Natupsky, 12 Claflin Street.
Hi, James.
Hi. So we actually just bought this house 2 months ago. I do feel that it would be detrimental to the neighborhood, personally, because I probably would not have bought this house had I known this development was a possibility. So property values potentially decreasing. The investment I just made 2 months ago, that seems problematic. Also, as our other neighbors have spoke about, the traffic, we do live at the end of the street and we have a 5-month-old daughter. We have noticed a problem with cars turning around directly in our driveway. I don't want my 5-month-old daughter to grow up and not be able to play on the driveway because we added 10 more parking spaces and 10 more cars to turn around in my driveway.
Even today, Eversource was out, and I think they had a landscaping company here just to get rid of the weeds and stuff that was in front of the property. It was really hard to get down the street. We had to kind of pull off to the side and wait for them to go over, and some of those cars just parked directly on the side of the street, which just made it really problematic to get to the end of the street. So if you have all of these people moving into this for family dwelling, there's going to be visitors. They're going to park on the side of the street. They're going to turn around in our driveways. It just doesn't make sense. So
Okay. All right. Well, thank you.
thanks.
Anybody else want to chime in who hasn't already spoken? Okay, so I'm going to ask to go back to Mr. Hartwell. You said to hold off on any of these questions until everybody finished. So I don't know if you wrote some of them down. I certainly did. If you want some of a review of that, you want to speak up and address?
I'm happy to follow your lead if you want to go question by question, just to make sure we hit them all.
Yeah, so let's start off with, first one of the things that Sarah brought up, but I also have, because of the way my lot is configured, I have a difficulty with snow. I can't even plow. I tried to plow. I can't. I have to snow blow it out because I'm limited because I have walls on each side. But we have a very narrow street. We have so I guess the snow and also the permeable surface areas would kind of go hand in hand. But if we're going to put in this tiny lot, because there's not a lot of room there, 3 car spaces and 7 additional hard surface spaces that are non-permeable. What have you come up with a plan for snow removal? Are you removing the snow from the property? It doesn't seem like there's a lot of room to put the snow if there's some decent snow there. I think that's the heart of Sarah's question.
That's certainly something we can put on the plan for the next hearing. We can designate a snow removal area or a snow depositing area.
Yeah, if I may, Michael,
Yep.
as sitting chair, I think these are some of the questions that the planning board is actually dealing with in their meetings.
Okay.
I think that some of these things that we're discussing are outside of some of this stuff. When they were talking about the environmental and those, I know they're an elected board. We're just an appointed board.
So how about, John, how about a question regarding the width of the place and the recommendation from the fire department? Do they have a plan for that?
Well, I don't know if they can move this. They can change the width of the street. That we have that we had that on A, B, and C Street earlier.
Yeah.
And some of the other. If you want to just talk about where I live, up on West Elm Street and Pond Street, there's some of them. They're even narrower, and those are main cut throughs for the town. But no, but actually, no. The main things that I believe that we're supposed to be looking at is will the structure fit in with the neighborhood? Does it is it and it further are any of the numbers more detrimental or basically what I'm getting at?
How much permeable surface will be left on the lot, Mr. Hartwell?
It would be 65.1%. So we're right up against the maximum lot coverage.
Okay. So 65% of the lot will be permeable for water or for places of snow. Okay.
And we've designed and we've submitted with the plan with the board to have all the drains collect all the water off the structure itself and direct it to the back in on both sides. So it should allow for enough spread of the water that's created off the top of the building itself. We can't address the water across the street. We can't address the water down the street.
Nope.
I wish we could. It's an awful situation. That's why we're trying to contain as much as we can on the site itself. Same thing goes for parking. That's why there's only 4 units. We're not adding 4 units. So it's 4 units, 3 garage spaces, and 7 surface spaces off the road. So
here's my thoughts. So one of the reasons we want downtown, we want people to walk downtown. We want to have people that it's close enough that they can do the shopping, they can go and enjoy the downtown. And I think, what's the minimum parking that you need for 4-family? I think it's 8 spots. Is it 8 spots, 2 per?
I believe it's 2 per. John could probably confirm that, but I believe that's the case.
So you're planning on putting 3 additional for potential guests?
Correct, sir.
So they don't have to park on the street?
Correct.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions? from the board or from the public? Before,
Yeah, I have a
yeah, Mike,
question.
hi, I didn't know you're here. Good to see you. Yes,
Excuse me,
sir, Mike.
You said you have 3 additional spaces, but I thought you had 7 spaces plus the 3 garage spaces.
They're two different. So he has 2 additional. So he's going to have a total of 10 where he's required to have 8.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So he'll have 2 guest spaces,
2.
not,
2. Yeah.
okay.
I'm sorry. That was.
And this is an existing non-conforming lot, correct?
Yes, sir.
And the fact that there's a house on it, that's why it's, I think, existing non-conforming. But if the house weren't there, we wouldn't even be having this discussion because it wouldn't meet the size requirements, correct? And the only reason that it's allowed to remain is that it has a house on it, and that's therefore it's existing non-conforming. So I don't even know why we're talking about putting additional units on this property on an existing non-conforming lot. That they couldn't take the house away, and they couldn't even put these units there unless we gave them a size variance. Correct?
No.
No, John, you have to remember that, Mike, you have to remember that, I think it's like 76 or 78% of the properties in the downtown district do not conform to the 15,000 square feet. The average lot in that downtown area is less than 8,000 square feet. If I remember correctly from 15 years ago when we tried to
I realize that, but I'm saying if this were a vacant lot, they couldn't build on it, correct?
Well, that would probably be true with any of the lots downtown.
Well, without getting,
without coming to us.
yeah.
And asking for size variance, correct?
Right.
No, we're not asking for a size variance.
No, I'm saying I'm saying if the house wasn't there, you'd have to ask for a size variance.
I'm trying to see where you're going with this.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, can I?
I'm
Absolutely.
saying that the only reason that I'd say we're even considering this is because there's a house there already. If this, yeah, but it's and that makes it an existing non-conforming lot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Riley, I want to add something to what Mike is saying.
Sure.
My understanding is where it's grandfathered and there's a single family house, it means that if the say the house burned down, you could you can put another house on there, you can replace it, but I don't know that it means you can put 4 units on this lot. I don't know if you can convert the fact that it's a grandfathered lot to put 4 units on it.
Okay. The same thing, you'd have to go through the board if you're rebuilding it and you chose to do that. I mean, that's the whole idea of having the boards, make these decisions.
Yeah, I mean, it's a legal question, and if I really wanted to answer it, I'd have to research it. I think any lawyer didn't know exactly the answer, but it seems to me that Mike I hadn't thought of it, but I think Mike Damasio was making a valid point.
And I'd like to make one other comment about the narrowness of the street. You know, all these other streets we're talking about are not dead-end streets. And dead-end streets are a particular problem for fire apparatus. You know, if there's no turnaround, they have no option but to back down the street if they have to, you know, move the apparatus.
So isn't that
I
something
agree
that
we
exists
have-
right now?
Excuse me?
Doesn't that exist right now?
I know, but you're not talking about a four-story structure. I mean, a 4-unit structure.
But we could be talking about a 4-bedroom, 4-bath house. And it would be the
Yeah.
same thing.
Um,
These are 1-bedroom apartments. So, you know, that's what I'm trying to wondering about what we're, so the only difference that I'm really seeing is the additional parking in the front, which comes down to the planning board. But, you know, and when it comes to the street, you know, it's already there. And one of the things we could condition is that they have a sprinkler system. We could do something like that.
That was already raised by the fire department and will be part of the permitting process when we go for the building permit.
yeah.
They brought that up when we met with them back in January, that they would want it fully sprinklered. They'd need a fire department connection. They would run a hydrant flow test, and they would also have a third-party review of the fire system.
And if I'm not mistaken, they don't even get trash pickup anymore if they're over 3 units.
Correct. We'd have to use private trash pickup.
Yeah, they would have to use private refuse removal.
Public hearing is still open. Is there anybody else that wants to ask a question to the chair or comment? Bernie, I saw your hand up.
Hello, this is Josh. I'm a neighbor. I'm not sure if I can speak now.
I didn't see your hand up, but I can't see everybody. So Josh, your one hasn't spoken yet. So introduce yourself with first, last name, and address, please.
Sure. Yeah, this is Josh Chu. I'm a laborer on the line Walcott Street. I'm just wondering, is there like any age restriction for those 3 additional units? Because I know our neighborhood already have a lot of family and with school-age kids. I'm just wondering, would it be like a 2-pack for our school system?
There's no intention to have it be age restricted at this time.
It's a 1-bedroom apartment. Each one is a 1-bedroom apartment, though.
Okay, thank you.
If I can speak, I'd like to clarify a few things. Looking at the plans that we've seen, these are 2-bedroom apartments or units. These are not single bedroom, you know, places. Again, the drawings that we've seen to date are 2-bedroom places. They also look like the parking is in front of each unit. So if I was buying that place or renting, I would not expect there to be a guest from someone else's house parking in front of my house. So that's going to be a conflict in that sense. So I think that there's just a couple things to clarify in that space. These are
Absolutely. I was understood.
If I one more point I'd like to clear up also is something that Mr. Catino had mentioned prior, is that the planning board is covering our concerns, and that's where our concerns should be addressed. When we were at the planning board meeting and mentioned these concerns, they were told that no, our concerns need to be addressed over here. So I'd like to understand, where do our concerns actually get taken in consideration into the decisions that are being made? Because we're hearing conflicting messages as the people that are most impacted by this.
So John will address, John can address what each board, because he serves on each board, what each board is to look at in their decision making and how they do it. So he can clarify that. John?
Yes, there is no site plan review because it is residential. If it was a commercial, there would be a site plan review. But the planning board does take care of all the parking part of this. We don't. You know, I could actually, I'll defer actually to John in this one, just to make sure that he could say, what the four corners, because we do have to be careful out here on the Board of Appeals, because we can't go outside of what we can discuss. We can put restrictions on things, and we can ask for certain stuff in order to grant a variance or a special permit. But there are certain things that are out of our purview. There are other departments and groups that handle those things. When you were talking about, could we demand an environmental study? No, that's not our end. Basically, when it comes down to, it's the findings. It's one of those. Does the criteria meet Chapter 210? Has that been satisfied? It's the proposed additions to the pre-existing non-conforming lot and structure will not be substantially more detrimental than the existing non-conforming use of the neighborhood. All applicable criteria and standards set forth in 210 have been satisfied. It's really straightforward for us whether or not this meets it, and the only real soft spot is the look and feel for us.
Well,
and that's where you guys are coming in.
Substantially more non-conforming than the rest of the neighborhood, and it is substantially more.
We don't have
a 4-unit place, and again, I want to get clear here. Like when we're on the planning board meeting, they're only talking about putting the variance of allowing cars to park in front of the house. And we were told to come here to talk about all of the other issues that we had, that board is only concerned with putting cars in front of the house. Now you're saying that you're not concerned about all the rest of our concerns. So where do those get addressed? Where do those get input into this plan? Because there's some significant concerns that myself and my neighbors have raised here. And so which board is going to address those and take those into consideration into the plans that Mr. Hartwell and Mr. and Marcelo here want to implement?
Well, again, some of these things may Mike can actually speak to them. Some of these things may not be part of our decision or the planning boards. Some of these things are beyond us. Some of these things are Board of Health. Some of these things are other boards.
Can you provide us a list of who we should go to talk to about all these concerns? As someone who's not familiar with this process, I need some guidance here, because
Sarah, what I can say is I'm absolutely listening to the concerns that I have heard from people on the street. I always try to imagine myself in their shoes. Whoever's in front of me, I try to say, okay, I live on Claflin. This is what's proposed. This is what's, and I try to balance that with, we have a need for housing. We have a need for having, things. So that part of our job is of the balance, right? Because the whole idea of the Board of Appeals is they only come to us because something doesn't work right legally. So they're asking us our opinion. The people present their cases on what they were trying to do, whatever variance or special permit they want to do. And then we have to weigh that against the good for the law that's defined, more detrimental in this case, and the good for the neighborhood. And we try to have a balance of that. And we still try to be, so I like having smaller unit places, but I don't necessarily think a smaller unit places fits everywhere in town. Some places because that's not a small place. Not everything fits into that plan. Would this be better served someplace else? Maybe, but that's what us as a board do. So we are listening to your concerns, and we take that into account when we look at the more detrimental, because it's all a judgment. How Mike or Arnold or Sean looks at this is in our individual brain when we compare to that standard of what we're required to do in order to permit this. So I hope you understand that we do listen to you and are listening to you.
Okay, thank you.
And one of the things
I appreciate that.
And so one of the other things that you have to take into consideration is the only two places that we really do most of the appeals come from is downtown business district and the Lake District. And the reason is tiny lots. And so we've run into just about every one of these concerns from neighbors in all along the lake and in the downtown, only because you want to change your deck, and most all of you that live on Claflin or A, B, or C or Walcott, if you want to move your deck or change a door or change anything, you're going to be at this. You're going to be here because you don't. Most of the people don't have 15,000 square foot lots, and it's a pain in the neck. It's one of the things we probably should take care of at town meeting one year to try and make everybody try and bring it down from 15,000 to 7,000 or 8,000. So most people conforming, and you don't have to spend time to come here. But in the Lake District, it's going to be impossible because those lots are 25 feet by 50 feet, and you can build line to line, which is very strange. But John, if you would please come in and try and give a little more clarification if we missed anything or if there's anything you might be able to add.
I'm assuming you mean me, John.
Yes. Sorry.
So the boards have very specific jurisdictions, and that's all set in the bylaw. So we're really just looking at the bylaw and saying, okay, this is what they need from this board, and this is what they need from that board. It's a residential use. So like you pointed out, John, it doesn't require site plan review. So some of these things would be discussed in site plan review, but the town a while ago, long before I was here, decided to put in their bylaws that residential uses were something that they wanted to almost incentivize and not really restrict from development. And so therefore Massachusetts as a whole as well. And therefore the zoning doesn't require those certain things, reviews, requirements, all that kind of stuff for residential uses. So we can't apply standards or requirements that the bylaws don't allow the boards to apply. So in this case, the planning board can only look at this project with respect to the parking between the main structure and the street. They can't look at stormwater. They can't look at anything else because they don't have the jurisdiction to review this type of project with that lens. Similarly, the Zoning Board of Appeals, you have two decisions really to make here. One of them is a special permit for the use because the bylaw specifically states multifamily is an allowed use in the downtown business district if allowed by a special permit by the Board of Appeals. And the only real caveat with that is that it has to comply with the setback standards from the Residence A district. So that's one decision that the board has to make is this use allowed? And do we grant it needs waivers from the setbacks, which is the other special permit that I'll get to in a second. And should we grant the use based on whatever the determination of the next special permit is? The second special permit is for a non-conforming use. So it is an existing non-conforming use. It's a residence in the downtown. The lot is non-conforming. When lots are non-conforming and they have a use on them, they are a pre-existing non-conforming lot. To change the use of a non-conforming lot requires a special permit. To get a multifamily development in the downtown business district requires a special permit. In the zoning bylaw, it specifically states that non-conforming lots can have, let me pull it up. I had it up a second ago. So construction of a single or two-family dwelling or other lawful building. So if this received a special permit for use, it would technically be considered a lawful building. On such lots where the proposed dwelling or building will not comply with the applicable regulations of this chapter is permitted only upon the issuance of a special permit by the Board of Appeals after finding that the proposed change is not substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood. So the board is empowered to grant both of those special permits, and that's really what you have to look at. So I understand stormwater is an issue, and the street width is an issue, and emergency access is an issue, and the board can discuss that. And you can look into these types of things if you want more information. But the bottom line is the board has to determine if those changes proposed meet what the standards are in the bylaw, and that's for the use, which is an allowed use by special permit with certain requirements, and then to allow for an extension of a pre-existing non-conforming use, which is also provided for in the bylaw through the non-conforming use section. So to John's point, it is kind of like really kind of the work is cut out for you. You kind of have these two jurisdictions, but I don't want to have the residents feel like their concerns are not being heard, because they are, as Mike pointed out. But the boards can't have requirements that aren't provided for in the bylaw. And if there's no requirement for an environmental analysis or a stormwater analysis, or there's no provisions saying, hey, you need to have this type of standard for stormwater or whatever, the board can't just kind of go far afield and decide, oh, we're going to require all of these studies and all of these requirements, because on appeal, you'd lose immediately. The board's not empowered to do that. That's really all I have to add to what was said by John and Mike already.
Mike Damasio?
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Thank you, John.
I disagree that the board doesn't have that authority, because we learned that on the Golden Pond project, where the planning board had all of these conditions on that project, and they came in, and they appealed that. So they came to us as the Board of Appeals. And that means that we had to look at each one of those items, and it was determined that the planning board didn't have the authority to ask for some of those conditions, and that those conditions should have been made as part of the zoning board's approval of the project. And since they weren't, there wasn't anything that could be done about it, because that the approval had already been passed. And therefore, things like lighting that spilled over into the neighbors' yards, a sidewalk that was requested, not requested, but conditioned, heading up toward where Dunkin' Donuts is. I can't remember. There were 2 or 3 more that were conditions that the planning board had as approval for the project. And it was determined, both through the attorney that was representing Golden Pond and our own attorney, that those conditions should have been part of our approval. So
Mike, I was on the planning board then. And one of the main thing that we did wrong on the planning board, we were forcing them to put a sidewalk on a neighbor's property that we were requiring Golden Pond to put sidewalks on property that the town didn't own and Golden Pond didn't own. And that was one of the main things that they pushed back on. And then some of the other things came up, and it was found that, but I was on the planning board for that one. But again, that's not a residential use. That was a commercial use.
No, but I'm just saying, we have the authority to put conditions on whatever approval we give.
I have been on boards in my time there. I agree with Mike that I don't know what restrictions we are allowed to or not allowed to, but I've been on a board, one of my first times on a board, that it was required that X amount of trees were put up, and we like for buffers and different things. So we did have requirements that were accepted. And maybe the difference is, if it's not accepted, do we have a right to enforce that? Is what I think John was talking about. If the builder or whatever accepts that, then they go forward with it. But if they don't accept that, Or if they challenge that, what's the enforceability of it? So that's where I'm unclear, Mike.
So,
But I do
sorry,
remember things.
through the chair, I was not saying the board can't put conditions on this decision. That's not what I was saying. I was saying the board has a very cut out scope of jurisdiction that you have to make these decisions on. I didn't say you couldn't put conditions on the decision.
Yeah, we put conditions on before, Mike.
No, I know we have, but you were saying that we couldn't ask for a water excuse me, not groundwater, but
Infiltration,
no, not even infiltration.
stormwater.
The stormwater runoff.
Yeah, but I don't see any reason why we couldn't ask for that to see that it's not going to cause problems.
So when
Because that could be detrimental to the neighborhood.
But when you ask for stuff like that without proof or evidence that the use is going to significantly, when it's not required, right? When it's not required as part of the filing, it's not required part of the application, and you require a stormwater report for something that has not been perceived to basically be a detriment in stormwater. I mean, there's a stormwater issue already, but there's no evidence to show that this development is going to significantly change the stormwater generation or management of the neighborhood, because it's really only, and that wouldn't even be something that they would investigate. They would just look at the stormwater management on the site. And so they would have to, under any regulation that would be enforceable by anybody, the stormwater regulations that are enforceable by the planning board basically require that a development treats the stormwater on site that it generates. So this would really do nothing to prove that it's not good. I mean, I guess you could prove that it's treating all the stormwater on site, but you'd have to have evidence that it wouldn't be doing that.
So you're saying that would be addressed to you as the code official?
I'm saying, I guess if you want to use the argument that something could be a detriment, but we don't know yet, that could be used pretty broadly if somebody's being malicious about it, right? If there is a genuine concern about the stormwater generated from this site, you can absolutely ask for something proving that. I don't know if you'd require an entire stormwater report, maybe a memo with some calculations. That you absolutely can ask for. It's really the scale of what you'd be asking for, because you were saying an investigation of stormwater, and that might be, maybe I misunderstood what you were asking for. A analysis of the stormwater impact, proving that they're going to treat all stormwater generated from their site on site, I think would be what you'd be looking for. But that's not going to change the issue with the stormwater elsewhere in the neighborhood. It's not going to impact it one way or another.
No, I understand. But no, that was just an example. And anyway, here is that I'm saying we can ask for things as a condition.
Oh, absolutely.
So Mike, what are some of the things you might think we should ask for?
I hadn't thought of it. I hadn't thought of them at this point in time, as far as,
because we do conditions. One of the conditions that we always say is that it's going to be built with the drawings that were supplied to us. That it's going to be built, by, the current standards. That it's going to. We ask for those things. Some of our standard ones all the time, to the point where we used to say to Elaine and put the standard conditions on there. Sorry.
So can I ask Mr. Hartwell a question or two?
Sure.
Just because it's hard, I'm having a hard time having the pictures up on my computer and the same thing. So, in a nutshell, what's the square footage of the building presently on site?
The footprint is about 445 square feet, I believe is what it's at. And then
you're proposing
3 units that are a little over 900 square feet each for footprint. So the total square footage, the total of this of the addition is about 2,750.
And what was the original?
The original is, let me do some math.
Mike, you asking for total square footage or the?
640, 640 is the footprint right now of the structure. That's
640 square feet is the footprint?
Yeah.
And you're gonna make it total?
Then we're going to add approximately 2,750 to it.
So you're gonna go from 650 to 3,300 approximately. 3,400. So, all right. So it's going to increase in size by significant amount. Okay. So have you considered doing either less apartments or one-bedroom apartments?
If the board is more amenable to 3 total units, we could certainly come back with revised plans demonstrating that. We would ask, but is it the scaling that's the issue? I mean, you could build a single family side to side, right? Up to 10 feet from the side setback. So, I mean, if we can keep the general footprint of the addition, but reduce it to only 2 additional units, that would help address the parking issue. Certainly.
I'm just trying to, by my nature as a mediator, I'm always trying to figure out a way that we can make 2 parties win, and 2 sides win. I don't know if that's going to be the case. It cannot always be the case, but I do see. I got to be honest with you, going forward, like, is it more detrimental, or is it in harmony? To me, is it in harmony with what's already there? I don't feel that it is my personal opinion. I haven't been exposed to everything, so I don't know. I'm not ready to vote on it yet. I'm really trying to open my mind up to different things. But I don't know if there's anything that the neighbors could live with or be, could go with, as opposed to, this is a big change in their neighborhood, and they're already suffering through, driveway and parking issues. Just when I imagine if somebody right now has a party, so Pam has a party because she's a partier, and she has a bunch of guests over celebrating her 35th birthday, and a bunch of people come over. I imagine Coughlin is a tough place to put the cars. So when we're adding significant, because people not just have 2 cars, they have people over, they have a party, they whatever. So I don't know if I want to make sure that the residents are heard that this is a concern, because it is your neighborhood. It's a small neighborhood. It's a small street. So any change is going to have a big impact. But this will, I think, have a very big impact. And I'm not sure it's going to be for the positive. I like adding housing downtown. So I'm perplexed myself. So I'm not sure. I don't know if Sean has any thoughts or anybody else has any thoughts about where I'm going.
John Moses has had his hand up for a long time.
I can't see John. I can't even know John was here.
Oh. You're muted, John. You're muted.
Thanks, Mr.
There you go.
Chairman. My hand fell asleep there. I got to go way back here a couple of minutes. I think the board does have pretty broad discretion under the bylaws, provided that it's appropriate, right? And appropriate is probably where it gets a little gray. And I think for the residents, the current residents, probably the best change for them would be no change, would be the most wonderful thing. And for the proponent to get everything that he's looking for would be the best thing. I think really the best thing would probably be working out some kind of compromise, or maybe ways to mitigate the volume of the facade that's going to be street side, or through the number of dwellings to offset parking. And I think, probably getting some more feedback for the project proponent from the residents would be helpful in doing that. And then I think from a residential standpoint, you have to accept that there's going to be some level of change in town, particularly on properties that belong to somebody else. I think anybody that's been in Hopkinton for some time has seen a dramatic amount of change, and that's because this is a great town. But can we guide it to make it appropriate? I think we absolutely can. My feeling is that probably some work should be done between the residents and the proponent to get to some sort of compromise.
No, Michael, I just saw that through the chair. Sorry. I've been hearing parking, cars in the front. And that's all the, that's the planning board's going to be talking about the parking between the street and the property. But if what Mr. Hartwell was talking about is they could go to two-bedroom units or something like that, and it reduces those cars to basically what fits in the garage, and maybe 1 or 2 spaces in the front. That solves a lot. But even when we were just talking about Pam and Bernie throwing a big party, even now, if anybody on that street throws a party, there's people parking on the street, and the fire truck would still have to go up if there was an issue. So we have to apply the law, same to everybody that's there. But with this is if they can change the number of units and that's what the issue is, then and that kills the number of cars, I think we're getting closer. Anyway, I'll shut up now and let.
No, I
Arnold has his hand up, Michael.
All right, yeah, thank you.
And Sean does. Sean's actually had it up for the longest.
All right.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Sean.
All right. A question for Mr. Hartwell. What's the status of the property now? It's not occupied, correct?
Correct.
And
the structure itself is pretty run down, so it'll benefit from having some work done.
Right, because I'm looking at the picture, the Google image from August of 22, so 3 years ago, and it looks like at that point it's abandoned. So I'm concerned too, as a matter of law, if it's not being occupied and hasn't been occupied for 2 more years, then potentially loses its status, right? And so we're asking to change the use from single family to multifamily, which I have an issue with. So that was one of my concerns. I still think there's an issue with the detriment to the neighborhood if it's a 4-family, right? So if I look at this, if it's an existing single family and you desire to build an ADU on the lot, I think you have a right to do that. And so now you essentially have a 2-unit building, right? With an ADU. Going to a 4-family though creates a change in the environment. So I think it's potentially detriment to the neighborhood, but it's a substantial change. And I don't know if it's necessarily in harmony with the zoning. But also I'd like to hear your response to the fact that it hasn't been occupied and it hasn't had a use as a single family for more than 2 years. The fact that the structure exists, I don't think an existing structure, if it's not occupied and it hasn't been occupied, does it in fact, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe it loses its right to have a change from single to multifamily. It may also lose its ability to have a non-conforming use.
I disagree, but John can speak to that himself because he's the one that accepted the application.
Well,
Nice.
the fact that he accepts the application doesn't necessarily mean, I mean, it gives you the right to come before the board to ask for the permit, and then we would have to apply the law to whether we grant the permit or not. My concern, in addition to, the how it impacts the neighborhood, right? Because I think there are valid concerns, and we've all heard valid concerns today, is as a matter of law, do we have the right to do something? And are we making a decision that's consistent with the law? The law gives us certain rights, right, or abilities, I should say, to grant these special permits. But if it hasn't been occupied for a period of years and hasn't been used as a single family residence, it may not. And that puts you in a quandary of, okay, what do you do with the property at this point? If you're if you're going to renovate it and use it as a single family, maybe it never becomes an issue, because you wouldn't be asking us for anything. You'd just be renovating the property. But when you go from single family to multifamily, I think that's a concern. And I don't know, maybe if one of the other attorneys on the board has dealt with this issue or could speak to it, but I think that's maybe something, Mr. Chair, that we need to get advice from counsel to the board.
Well, Sean, we actually did one of those a couple months ago. The one that was going to be a 6-unit, and then it went to like a 4, then a 3. That's been empty for like 5 years or so.
But we never brought up the legal issue that Sean's raising now.
Oh, okay.
So
Mr. Gilson, do you know?
And that one wasn't non-conforming, was it?
I don't know.
I believe it was.
I don't think the lot on that was non-conforming.
Yeah, because I believe went from single family to multifamily, but I don't know if that was a non-conforming lot.
I don't know about the lot size. But I think it's tough, Sean, to determine when the last occupant lives there.
Can I say something to that?
Yes, of course.
I'm sorry. When I bought the property, that was in August of last year, and there was the owner was living there. So.
Oh, okay.
I would say no, he was not living there. He was actually in a retirement home at that point in time.
Okay, I'm Sarah. Sarah, you can't go back and forth.
Yeah.
So any comments are through the chair? There's no direct to party.
Yeah, I had my hand up here.
Arnold.
So is there any standard for this granting a special permit? I might ask.
It's outlined in the bylaw.
Other than under the bylaw, other than whether or not it's more detrimental to the neighborhood than the existing building, is that the only standard?
I believe the standard has to be not substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood, not just a little.
Okay, substantially. Okay, so
more
that's a significant difference. Yeah, but it's very subjective standard. And I'm not saying what I think, just asking the question. But John, if this was say there was nobody ever built a house on it, and the lot was created 100 years ago, and now it's before zoning went into effect, but now it's non-conforming because it's too small. Would they be able to? Am I correct that they would not?
I'm actually going to stop this. Arnold, I'm going to stop this conversation. As an old law professor once told me, what ifs? Let's not go into what ifs. Let's just deal with the facts that we have in the laws that we have, because that's what we're going to need to do to make a decision. Not what if this happened and what if that didn't happen and whether there was a house or there wasn't a house. We do have a house. We have a structure. Sean brings up an interesting point about the use of it, but we have a structure. They've asked for special permit, 2 of them. We need to deal with that.
Right, so the answer is that they have
They would
one-
go,
they have
they'd
a
go through
small
the
house
board
there,
and the
and then
board would make a
they could build-
decision.
They could based on, because there's an existing house on it, they can turn it into a 4-unit lot, based
With
on.
a special permit.
And the only issue is whether it's more detrimental in the neighborhood, and then whether we can put any conditions on it. We haven't had any expert, just kind of opinions that, really, like the property value is going down, it's not really evidence, and really no evidence about any, it's a real concern about the drainage. So, all right, I hear what you're saying, that it just seems a little anomalous that it's grandfathered, so they can have one house there and say they wanted to expand it, build an extra room on it. But not only that, but they could build 3 more units on it when it's an undersized lot, even for a single family house.
And then that's
Well,
what the board's
you-
decision is going to be based on, whether we feel that the majority of us feel that a special permit's called for or not. So I'm going to ask if there's any other public. Bernie, I see your hand up. We're going to go through because it's we're getting on their time, but I want to pay attention to everybody's hand, and then we're going to see if there's any more public. So Bernie, you're up next.
Thanks very much. I really appreciate it. Bernie Mitchell, 5 Claflin. I want to make sure there's no confusion. 2 bedrooms, not singles. Okay.
Got it.
So that we
Got
have
it.
them.
That was my mistake. I apologize.
And I would also like to say, well, it isn't just parking. It is not that. It is certainly a change in the scope of the neighborhood. What are we going to do about lighting? There was a handful of things that have been brought up, and I will not go through them all, but I would like you to make sure that it is not solely about parking. Thank you.
Got it. Thank you. Ann, and then Mike. And Martina, I see a hand up. Ann, are you there? All right, we'll come back to Ann if she's there. Mike, you had your
Yes,
hand up?
I'm here.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Okay, Ann?
I'm sorry. I apologize. I can't get
That's
my
okay.
camera to come on. Could you?
That's
Can you
okay.
hear me? All right. I just
Can you introduce yourself, Ann?
Yes. Ann Matina, 40 Eastview Road, previous resident of 1 Claflin Street. I just want to make an observation in general about the idea that somehow it's already bad there. So what difference does it make if we add 4 more units? I mean, people are going to have to park on the side of the road regardless. So we may as well put a house in there and a 4-unit condos in there. But in fact, it is going to work to the detriment of this tiny, historic little street in the center of town. As someone who unfortunately had to call for an ambulance twice in the 7 years we lived there, and we were on the corner, I can tell you, Hopkinton doesn't fool around. You get a fire truck, you get police cars, you get the ambulance, and nobody could go up or down the street while this was going on. I just think that the idea that just throwing up 3 additional units onto this lot is not going to be detrimental in and of itself is ludicrous. It's going to make a huge difference. The other thing I want to mention is about the water, the drainage, all of that stuff. In the past, when there was a study done, not by the town, I don't believe it was done by the town, from the owners, when the owners of Bill's Pizza were going to build their new pizza place, originally, their plan was to go all the way back in the lot. They own that strip of woods across the street from the houses on Claflin and Bill's Pizza. There's the parking lot, there's a strip of woods, and then there's the parking lot. They couldn't build without it costing them, I guess, an enormous amount of money back there because of the drainage, because of the water problems. And I know the attorney said earlier that they can't control the water anywhere else except on their own lot that they're concerned about. But that lot is part of a larger neighborhood. It is going to impact everyone, and not for the better. The only person, if the other thing is, I want downtown housing too. But I don't see anybody talking about this housing being, affordable housing, which we desperately need, housing for seniors, which we desperately need. This is going to be market price condos, which, are going to upend the whole neighborhood. So that's my thing that I want to say about all of this. Thank you. Sorry about my technical difficulties.
That's okay, Ann. Thank you very much for your comments. Mike?
Yeah, I have one question, and maybe Mr. Hartwell can answer this. He's pointed out 210-128A2, but 210-128A deals with alteration, reconstruction, extension, or structural changes to single and two-family residential dwellings. It doesn't address changing one and two family dwellings to multiple family dwellings. So I'm not sure that that we even have the ability to say they can change it. Well, maybe with the variance, they can change a single or two family dwelling to a multiple family dwelling in existing lots, uses, and structures.
Mr. Gilchich, you're gonna have to step in on this one.
So is the question that they wouldn't meet the standards under 210-128A? Is that what I heard?
That's right.
Yes. So under 210-128C, which deals with non-conforming lots, it says construction of a single or two-family dwelling or other lawful building on such lots where the proposed dwelling or building will not comply with the applicable regulations is permitted only upon the issuance of special permit. So what they would have to do is they'd have to get a special permit to allow for that the structure to be on that lot. The special permit for use, which is required in the BD district, would be the special permit that would then make the multifamily use a lawful building. And then the 210-128B non-conforming structures would deal with the non-conformance of the structure as it relates to the setbacks. So they would get potentially a special permit for, I said two before.
C only allows you to build a single or a two-family dwelling.
Or legal or other lawful building. It says construction of a single or two-family dwelling or other lawful building.
The special permit, Michael, would give them the right as a lawful building to build them the four-family. We would have to grant that part of it. That's
why we're doing two now.
Yeah, that's what John's saying. If we give it a special permit to build a four-family, then it becomes a lawful building. If I'm interpreting what you're saying, John.
Correct. And this section, same section, there was an earlier conversation, this same section 128C also allows for development of single family houses on lots that are smaller. So they have to be at least 50 or 5,000 square feet or have 50 feet of frontage. So in that situation, this lot, if it had no building on it and was vacant, but had not been held in common ownership and was created before zoning came into play, still would be legal to build on because it would have more than 5,000 square feet and 50 feet of frontage.
Mr. Gill, it could be a two-family as well by right, correct?
Yes.
Just to clarify.
I have to look. Yeah, I mean, yes, because it says single and two family in all the. Yeah.
So, I mean, as of right, we can build a two-family right now, right?
I'm not the zoning enforcement officer, so I can give you an interpretation, but you can't bring that to court.
Yeah, and one of the things that I wanted to, that I was thinking about is if he was just coming to us to put on a 25 or 2,600 square foot addition, we'd be just still saying the same thing. Can he have his college kids are all moving back? They're bringing families, and he just wants to make his house. Hey, 145 Ash Street is a 3,000 square foot addition. The house was 1,800 square foot. He put a 3,000 square foot addition on it. He didn't have to come to the Board of Appeals, but it's one of these things. So
I guess I would just kind of disagree with that being. I don't think that's comparable when you're talking about having a multifamily and compared to a single family expanding their own house. I do think it's different. The size may be the same, but I think the effect is completely different.
Well,
just
no, my
opinion.
Oh, no, my point being, when we're talking about the stormwater infiltration and 65% of the lot being open for infiltration, and some of those other issues that people are talking about, if this was just being built a lot, that's what we'd be looking at.
Sure.
And it's just like, I'm just building, or I'm just changing it to a two-family. They'd still have to come to us, not for the two-family part, but they'd be coming to us just to put the addition. Like I said to everybody else, you want to put a deck on the back of your house. You've got a 5,000 square foot lot. So anything that's less than 15,000 square feet, you're coming to this board.
So I'm gonna try to summarize and see if we can move on a little bit, because I think we're doing a little bit of circling. So what I have is somebody wants to put a four-family. I have the neighborhoods saying they don't want a four-family. That's not in congruence with what's in the neighborhood. We know that they have a right to at least a two-family. So by right. So do you see any compromise in a lessening of this project to satisfy all parties? I'm not sure if we are or not, but I do think our job as a board isn't just to say no or yes to everybody. It's to try to listen and see what's best for the town. We represent the town in this. So I know Sarah brought up the thing. I saw a little thing, depending on what time it is, on Saturday, to do a walk through the neighborhood and welcome the boards to do that, to see. But in the meantime, I think I would open it up one more time to the public to see if there's any more questions. And at a certain point, I want to move this meeting along so we can kind of get some determination or kick it out to the next meeting. And maybe have come back, Mr. Hartwell come back with some other proposal that's maybe the footprint isn't as big. Maybe there isn't 4 apartments, maybe there's 3, and kind of go from there. Does anybody else feel? I know John Mosier and I kind of were approaching this as the same way, going, it is unfortunate that we can't always control what's in our neighborhood, but we can make sure that it's at least within what's under the bylaws.
Mike's got his hand up again, Michael.
Mike?
Oh, excuse me. I meant to lower my hand.
Okay.
Does anybody else in the public want to speak on the conversation that I just brought up about a compromise? Okay, I got it. Mr. Cohen, you have your hand up? Okay.
Arnold, you're muted, Arnold.
So does anybody
to
else
put
in
it
the
in a-
public have anything else to say? I don't want to close the public hearing because I want to ask Mr. Hartwell to come back with some revisions and have a further plan. And so I don't want to limit the public to not be able to speak on those further plans. So I'm not of the query to say, let's close the public hearing yet. Mr. Hartwell, are you open to coming back with some revisions in your plan to make it more user-friendly?
Of course, Mr. Chair. And I've been on my own zoning board for 19 years, so I feel your pain. And I've heard your concerns. We understand. My understanding from the feedback we've gotten is that the primary concern is parking. So if the easiest,
not the primary, but I mean the size of the place as well as the amount of people, the amount of traffic it's going to bring, because it's not just parking the cars, it's driving up and down the street. It's, so the total number of cars doing that has also an impact on a very narrow street. I got a young little kid at the corner at the other end I got to watch out for to make sure that
no, but we don't have to look out for, because we're not going down there. They're at the end of the street. We're at 3. So there's only one house before you get to the main road. So we're not asking for 10 cars a day to go in front of 5 or 7 or 9 or anywhere beyond that street. It's really just addressing it there.
I would recommend you look at making that a smaller building with less residents.
Okay.
That would affect the parking as well. It's up to you to choose to do that or not, or we could just go forward on how you propose now. I'm not sure how
No. I think we would. I just wanted to get some guidance from the town on terms of like how much sizing are you talking about? I mean, realistically,
if I may through the chair, why don't we just give everybody another 30 seconds? Bernie, Pam, Sarah, and James and Alexa. Bring up your 1 or 2 points, so we can just try and make this a win-win or not a lose-lose.
Yep. Can we do it like he said and not repeat each other? And if you do like Bernie did before, if it is a repeat, just say I want to add to So go ahead, James.
I was just wondering, are all 4 of these units going to be connected to town water?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Is there any plan to remedy the low water pressure and supply coming into the houses on the street? Because if we had
that's outside the scope of the builders.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pam, did you have anything? You're on mute. I'll get to Bernie.
Okay, I'm here. I don't do Zoom very much. The thing that I'd like to mention, I don't think anyone has brought up before, that has to do with renters and turnover. And I really think we've had some issues in the past where we've had a certain house that has had turnover of renters constantly, and it gets like I had a teenage daughter at the time, and it was a little concerning. Who was living in that house and things like that. And I just feel like if there's 4 units, is a lot of turnover, because that's what it is. They're just going to be young professionals just using the T and then buying their house somewhere else. Whereas if you had a 2-family, you could have 2 like very happy families that could stay for years. We have had other renters in the neighborhood that have stayed for years in single family homes. And it's just, it is a neighborhood, and it would be nice to have neighbors and not just renters. So
okay.
I'll leave it at that. Thank
Sarah, thank you.
Sarah, can I just address that real quick? Because that's
sure.
There's no intention to rent these out. These are going to be condoed.
Oh, that was okay.
I have not represented that these are going to be apartments. I apologize if somebody mentioned that. I didn't.
Thank you for clarifying, Mr. Hartwell.
No, the intention is this is, workforce housing. This is, it's not affordable by law. It's not, deed restricted, but these aren't, mega houses that are going in. They're supposed to be reasonable houses in the downtown area that are market rate. So it should help the houses also on the street, but they're not so market rate that they're out of touch for the regular folks. They need to, live and work in the town, live in the town that they work in.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that input. Sarah?
Sure. Thank you again. Sarah Brophy, 9 Claflin Street. I do want to say that, yes, parking is a concern. Even though this is the second house on the street, everyone comes down to the dead end because they can't find the house and turn around. So that's never going to be a thing. That's never not going to be a thing with this unit, whether it's the second, first, or third house. I think the other thing that we really haven't talked a ton about is landscape. We're talking about that whole frontage of that house becoming hardscape and not having any or very minimal, green space to any of this anymore. So that's one thing I'd like to address as well too. I think holistically, I don't think any of us on the street are object to that property being developed and being, refurbished back to some sort of, quality that matches the rest of the neighborhood. I think that what is being proposed is just too large and too massive for this street. And to address the note that I put in the chat, there is a site walk here on Saturday morning at 9 o'clock from the planning board, and I would encourage you all to be part of that and see what it's like in this space, see what it's like. You've got the renderings of the proposal, but you're missing the context of what that would look like in this environment. So I would encourage you to attend that and see what that's going to look like. And then you'll also see what happens when you've got a ton of cars that are going to park down the street to attend that meeting. So thank you very much.
I cannot make it, but I will be there at a different time, but I cannot make that time. Bernie, you had your hand up?
Yep. Thank you. Thank you very much for clarifying that these are not rentals. We were under the impression that these were rentals. I'm not sure how we got off on a wrong track there. We also have been in this town for quite a long time and have seen many changes. We're not opposed to change. I think what scale and it would impact the neighborhood is what we are opposed to or have a problem with. Thanks very much. I appreciate your time.
Yep. Anybody else before we? All right. So the other thing, Mr. Hartwell, I like green too. I like to see more green on it. It helps how it presents to the neighborhood. It helps how, as John would be interested in how they sell, so is James. The nice landscaping always adds for the sale value, plus it makes it a nicer appearance in the neighborhood. So I think those are the two things. I think you have your marching orders.
Go through the chair.
Go ahead.
I was down in 12 Claflin when that house was for sale. There was an open house. It was chaos, and I parked in the woods, probably illegally. So I can confirm that, yes, it is a tight street, and it's hard to park, and it's hard to turn around. And that the bylaws are there to help the community express their concerns and bring it to a forum like this. And so it's a bit of an overlap, and we're here to help, in the gray areas and help everybody come to a consensus where at least more people are happy than unhappy.
Thank you.
Through the chair, I'd like to make a motion to continue this public hearing to an open date that Adina and Mr. Hartwell would find amenable.
So we have hearings on, our next one is in 2 weeks on the 27th. We have one hearing already that night. And then after that is September 10th and September 24th.
So,
Mr. Hartwell, when do you think you would be able to come up with plans?
I think we should be able to get updated plans for the 27th. Obviously, we're going to wait till after the site walk so we can get some feedback from the abutters that we meet with there. Worst case scenario, I could send you. Could I send you a letter the day of just to continue till the September meeting if we don't have plans available, just so we don't waste your time.
Would that work for you, Adina?
That's fine with me.
Okay.
I just don't. I don't know how complicated. I didn't look at the 27th yet.
I will not be here.
Then let's make it.
27th is a Wednesday. I'll be here.
Okay, good.
I'll be here.
I'm here. I'm here too.
Do we need to get an extension?
Yeah.
From the applicant?
Yeah, I will send him a form tomorrow.
No problem.
Excellent. Okay, so do we need to, do we need to vote on the continuation?
Yes.
So you have a motion, Mr. Riley? We need
I have a
second.
motion. I need a second.
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 Any discussion on the motion? All right. So I'm not sure who's sitting on this because I had my screen, the view thing, and I had no idea that John Mosier was here and Mike was here. So do we have?
So on this, Michael, I guess the five permanent
first.
members. Yeah, so it'd be you, me, Jim, Arnold, Mike,
James,
and yeah.
Oh, Mike and Arnold. Mike and Arnold.
Mike and Arnold. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Everybody was here at the beginning of the meeting. Okay. All right. So I'll ask John.
Yes.
James.
Yes.
Arnold.
Yes.
Mike.
Yes.
And I also vote in the affirmative.
Okay, we have continuation. All right. Michael, do you want to go over the minutes as drafted? I make a motion to accept the minutes as drafted for the, oh shoot, I don't have them in front of me.
It was July 9th, I think, was it?
Yeah. There was July 9th and there was one before that too. Other one after that.
Dina, do you know the date on the second?
It was June 25th.
June 25th. Do we have to vote them individually?
You usually do. You have voted them together, but you usually do them separate. I don't know if there's a difference.
I didn't see any issues on either of them. They were pretty linked. They were pretty accurate. I mean, especially the one the 9th.
So there's a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, so any discussion? All right, so John?
Yes.
James?
Yes.
Arnold?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
John Mosier?
John, you're muted. Okay, well, we have 5 votes.
And James Masters, James? Yes, okay. So that, the minutes are accepted. So at this point, anybody have a motion to close the hearing? Anything else on the agenda?
Yeah, there's one more thing on the agenda for, if you guys are gonna reorganize for the new fiscal year and a Zach representative.
All right, let's do that. Let's do that on the 10th. Let's because we're going to be too busy on the next one, so let's push all that stuff off to the 10th.
Okay. I want to thank everybody for their time and their professionalism throughout this hearing. I know sometimes it's a very emotional type of thing and can be, but everybody was very professional and spoke very well for themselves. So thank you.
You guys are a great street. You really do. I mean, I got to say that too. And again, I apologize. I got, I'm really in a bad mood and under a lot of pain. I can't believe I got so many bee stings. But Michael, thank you for running the meeting for me.
Yeah, John, your bad mood is a good mood for somebody else. So.
All right. Well, have a great night. And so need a motion to close the hearing?
No, we don't close this hearing.
We don't close. That's right. I mean,
meetings. Okay. Yeah. So we are adjourned.
Not the hearing. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, we are.
All right. We're all done, folks.
Good night.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Don't we need a motion to adjourn?
Yes.
We voted.
We did.
No, you didn't.
Oh, we didn't vote?
No.
No.
Oh, okay.
Motion
I
to
said yes.
adjourn. Do I hear a second? Any discussion? John?
Yes.
James?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
John? Sean?
Yes.
Arnold?
Yes.
And I'm not sure if John Mosier's still here.
I made the original motion to adjourn and Jim seconded it and then we just started talking in the middle of it.
Yeah, you didn't vote.
We didn't vote.
We didn't vote. Okay. I thought we did that. I said yes.
Well, we voted
Okay.
now, so farewell.
Yes, now we are adjourned.
We are adjourned.
Excellent.
Thank
Thanks,
you,
everyone.
John,
Thanks for your
G,
patience.
thank you so much for your help with this.
Yeah, really appreciate it.